Hello there. Good to see you. I'm Linda Ogutu. This is KTN Prime. We're looking at the top stories for you at this hour. And of course, top of it all is the nomination of Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka's son to the East African Legislative Assembly. That has kicked off quite a storm, and that storm played out in Parliament today. We'll tell you more on that in this bulletin. And in fact, it forms the basis of our big question tonight. I'd like you to take a look at it here on our Super World tonight. We're asking you, is there any justification whatsoever for Kalonzo to nominate his son to Yala? Is there any justification for Kalonzo to nominate his son to the East African Legislative Assembly? So the explanation being given is that 1, he's qualified, 2, due process was followed. What are your thoughts? Is there any justification that you can think of? That is our big question tonight. All right, and then tonight we'll also be looking at business news. Our Abby Agina is in our second studio. Abby, there's very good news for Lamu residents, is there?
Well, Linda, indeed it is a big day for the people of Lamu County, even as Zarara Oil and Gas Company announced that they'll be starting oil exploration in that county, and they'll be drilling a well at a cost of 3 billion shillings. We have that and much more on the business news tonight.
Great, Abby. We'll see you in about, 20-25 minutes. But thank you. Like I mentioned, this is KTN Prime. Let's now take a look at the top stories for you as at this hour.
We don't want to be a deaf government. We have a responsibility to keep Kenyans updated on what we are doing.
3,000 tons of maize have docked at the port of Mombasa as government moves to address the cost of unga.
Namkia Saturday, nikasikia mkono inauma. Nikasikia hiyo mkono sio poa. Mimi nilikuwa nadhania ni imeniuma.
Thika slaughterhouse is closed indefinitely after 7 people were hospitalized with anthrax.
Wao wanapatia ndugu zao na dada zao na watoto wao hati vyeo.
Even if he's the son of the vice president, let him be looked upon like any other.
Heated debate on Kalonzo's nomination of his son to the East African Legislative Assembly. And tight security as police recruitment kicks off countrywide. Thank you so much for creating time for us. Our sign language interpreter at the bottom end of your screen is Maresha Witi. Maresha, thank you. Let's begin with that Iyala storm, and Deputy Minority Leader in the National Assembly, Jakoyo Midiwo, ganged up with Leader of Majority, Eden Duale, to urge the Speaker to reject a list of 4 nominees that had been presented by Minority Whip Thomas Mwandegu. Jakoyo and Duale insist that CORD must submit at least 12 names for consideration. Patrick Amimo is working on that controversy for you. We'll have that story for you in a couple of minutes. Remember, that forms the basis of a big question here. We're asking you, is there any justification whatsoever for Kalonzo to nominate his son to Iyala? So try and see if you can look for any justification as we wait for that story by Patrick Amimo. Now, the countrywide IEBC voter verification exercise kicked off in earnest today, even as low numbers were registered in many of the polling stations. The month-long exercise, spearheaded by the IEBC, will include diaspora voters.
Elijah has arrived at the Donholm Primary School, which will serve as a polling station come August the 8th, to verify whether indeed he's recognized by the IEBC register as a valid voter. He is one among over 19 million Kenyans who have registered as voters in the just concluded voter registration exercise.
Now it's upon us, people who are vying, people who are concerned about elections, at least to educate people the importance of them coming to check if they are registered voters, because this is the most important exercise after all.
At this station, the exercise began more than 5 hours late after logistical challenges experienced by the IEBC saw a delay in the delivery of verification kits. The voter verification exercise, targeting eligible voters within the next 30 days, hopes to ensure the country's electoral body avoids any cases of electoral malpractice emanating from ballot casts by dead voters.
I hope this vote will happen all over the country, that within a second they've gotten my details, just even by giving the ID number, and they're able to retrieve my information.
The biometric verification process will give Kenyans an opportunity to familiarize themselves with the technology that will be used in the general election.
Low numbers were, however, registered during the first day of the exercise that helps confirm biometric data for voters at the stations where they will cast their ballot during the general election.
It is a good idea because what itaweza kuhakikisha ya kwamba there will be a credible and a fair general election come August 8th.
Imenichukua muda mfupi, nafurahia, na shida tu ni vile sasa niko hapa, lakini nilikuwa nimeregister kule Siaya County. Sasa confirm kabisa lazima niende tena mpaka Siaya. Hiyo tena ni kibarua kigumu, lakini nishaona niko kwa system. Nimeshukuru.
In the polling station where the IEBC has promised there will be no extension to the exercise once the 30-day window lapses. The process, heavily involving the use of technology through the Kenya Integrated Election Management System, once completed, could set the stage for the much-anticipated election, which heavily depends on the efficiency and credibility of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission. Timothy Otieno, KTN News.
The electoral body IEBC has begun the process of verifying details of the 19.5 million registered voters. And so on tonight's edition on Spotlight 2017, our senior political affairs reporter Chris Tyro revisits the tight IEBC timelines and interrogates the status of ongoing cleanup of the voter register, as well as the tendering process for ballot paper printing.
It is less than 3 months to go before Kenyans go to the ballot to elect their next set of leaders in the second general election under the new constitutional dispensation. Focus now shifts to the electoral body, the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission. And the question begs, just how prepared is the IEBC in conducting this year's polls?
The Commission has developed a results management framework which clarifies the procedure the Commission shall follow in ensuring transparency and accountability in election results management.
Going by the new relatively tight IEBC timelines, the Commission has begun the process of verifying the voters' details before the final register is put together. The process is taking place in all the 290 constituencies. Voters are required to visit the verification centers and confirm whether their details are correct and that their names are on the IEBC register. In the meantime, KPMG has embarked on a cleanup and audit of the registers simultaneously.
We are running the two processes, what in law you say pari passu, side by side, so that whatever errors we find, we shall correct them. Remember, KPMG is not correcting the register. They are doing an audit. An audit, they simply identify if there are issues and they write a report, and we shall also implement the report as far as it concerns the register.
This is expected to continue until the 9th of June. The Commission is then set to gazette the names and symbols of persons intending to contest in the election as independent candidates by 13th May. May 14th, which will be on Sunday, will be the last day for political parties intending to participate in the general election to submit party lists to the Commission. The date was moved from the 10th. Despite campaigns having seemingly kicked off, the campaign period will officially commence on the 28th of May and cease on the 5th of August, 48 hours to the general elections.
Independent candidates and political party aspirants have to submit their nomination papers for clearance to the Commission's returning officers at the constituency level between 1st of June and 2nd of June.
Even as the Commission continues to test the Kenya Integrated Elections Management System, KIEMS, that will entail the fingerprints and the facial image of every registered voter, as well as transmit the results, it is yet to be decided which company will be awarded the 2.5 billion shillings printing tender. The delay coming after the High Court quashed the contract awarded to Algra Rail Printing and Publishing Company on grounds that the Commission was not properly constituted at the time the deal was signed.
In a democracy, particularly where the Constitution itself says that we are a constitutional democracy, there is no better referee and repository of the rights and freedoms of the people than the courts.
What is manifesting itself here as a legal problem is essentially a political and social problem. We have no legal problem. What we have is we have a low threshold of trust.
A total of 13 firms indicated their interest, but last week, only 8 had returned their bids.
CORD can make all the noise they want, and what CORD is trying to do is that they know they have lost the general election. And we, the Jubilee Coalition, I want to say it very categorically, the postponement of the general election is not visible.
Presidential candidates have to submit their nomination papers for clearance by IEBC between the 28th and 29th of May this year, while other candidates for various elective positions should submit their certificates at the Commission's returning officers at the county level between 28th May and 22nd June. The Commission has gazetted 290 staff to serve as constituency returning officers and 47 returning officers.
The spotlight now shifts to the Court of Appeal, even as the 5-judge appellate bench is expected to rule on whether the presidential results will be announced at the constituency level or it will be a preserve of the IEBC chairman, as it has been the tradition, even as the hearing is set to begin on the 6th and 7th of June. Chris Dairo, KTN News in Nairobi.
Let's now focus on the cost of living, and the government has imported about 30,000 tons of maize in a bid to address the high costs of unga. And as Yusuf Ibrahim reports, a similar shipment is expected in the next 2 weeks.
These spiraling prices of food commodities, coupled with the high cost of living, has now left the government with no option but to seek external support, even as officials from line ministries continue to grapple with the current food shortage in the country.
Maisha imekaa mbaya. Tunaona hata mzee tumwambia Moi tutakuja tumukumbuke, na ni ukweli. Tunaona wakati Uhuru imetusidia.
Ukifanya shopping ya shilingi 100 unajaza kavera, lakini saa hii hakuna kujaza. Kwa hivyo kama mimi Teresa naongea hivyo, waache kutukazia maisha.
As espoused in several forums, the government has been instituting measures in terms of policy, 1, and 2, measures intended to make market interventions to ensure that the price of maize in particular and sugar and other commodities comes to levels that the majority of citizens can afford.
A statement later sent to newsrooms confirmed that the amount is 30,000 tons. The maize imports from Mexico are now expected to increase maize stocks in the country and further ease the price of unga that has been rising steadily for the past 6 months.
It is going to 2 years, and no country in this region has received enough in terms of rains to sustain the normal levels of agricultural produce.
And it's not just maize that has been imported.
The National Treasury recently approved controlled duty-free importation of sugar and powder milk.
The imports are now expected to be shared by just a fraction of the millers, with the rest expected to purchase them from the market where the prices are still high.
How do you apply for 20,000 baht to meal for 1 month? You only given 3,000. Then after that comes to approach you, can I sell you 20,000 bags of maize? It's illogic. So lazima serikali ipate suluhisho, sana sana watupatie ruhusa tuweze kuimport mahindi individual millers.
The government has termed the current move as a short-term solution for the current crisis as they continue banking on the prevailing rains to normalize the worsening situation. Yusuf Ibrahim, KTN News.
You're watching KTN Prime. Thank you for staying with us. Remember, tonight we are focusing on that storm that has been raised by the nomination of Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka's son to the East African Legislative Assembly, and we're asking you, is there any justification whatsoever for Kalonzo to nominate his son to Iyala? Patrick Amimo is working on the back and forth that was witnessed in Parliament this afternoon, and of course we'll have that story in the second bit of this bulletin. Allow me right now though to take a breather. We'll be back.